You've got a good reverb, so you don't need a reverb. My amp doesn't even have reverb. You've got proper clean, you've got really nice just overdrive sounds, and you've got proper distortion.
Yeah.
People are going to moan about that.
Really?
Oh, they love a moan, honestly. Oh my god, there's me thinking using this in the studio, it's not even a real amp.
If you needed that boost though, what would you do?
Panic. This is the DSM Humboldt Simplifier X. It's like your digital rig, but it's not digital, so I suppose that's not like a digital rig.
At all.
But what's funny is, our drummer saw this last night, Simplifier X, and it does not look simple. But it's just 2 channels of your amp. That's all it is. If you ever used a real amp, what you've got at the top is EQ, what you've got in the middle is the power section, so the bit that makes it loud, and at the bottom you've got the cab sim. So you know how an EQ works, not difficult, and there's your preamp, so that determines how much gain you've got. And in the middle, you've got how loud it is. It's got presence and resonance.
Yeah, I think any time you see any new pedal or new thing with so many knobs and switches on it, you're going to get confused. But like you say, if you just think of it as sections.
Yeah, well, you seemed surprised last night. We played at rehearsal last night. Normally I adjust the real amp. I don't want this to work like a real amp, and it does. That's what I like about it. And it's so easy to just crouch down and go, okay, right, turn the master volume down, adjust the master volume.
Yeah.
Or if there's too much gain, I know how to do that and then boost the master section, which would be the power amp. In a real amp, you get your sound with your EQ and how much drive there is, and then you decide how loud that is. And you've got these switches, so for the preamp and the power amp, you can decide whether it sounds like a Fender, a Vox, or a Marshall.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm not going to go too much into that because I feel this video is going to be more about how to use this and how to get a good sound. Basically just set it to Marshall, it sounds the best, but we will do a little bit of flick in between. With the cab sim you can make it sound like a full stack, half stack combo. Again, I just went with what sounded best. And what's funny is
always the best way to do it.
Yeah, and what's funny is Rob sent me a picture of his settings because he's got one, Chappers, and it's pretty much identical apart from his EQ. He found the unit quite dark, so I had to crank the treble. I actually found mine, I like a bright sound and I have to turn the treble down a little bit. It's not like sibilant or offensive, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Does more than that, it's got a headphone output. I tried that in the garden.
Nice.
That was nice. And it's got different ways of running it as well. So you can have different reverbs. The reverb's really nice actually, 3 different reverbs. But you can run this different ways as well. You can have it how I've got it, like a 2-channel amp. So you press this, it goes between the 2 channels, and it's mono. You can run it as a stereo rig.
So and that came with it, right?
Yeah.
That's really good.
And I'm like, the reverb's always on. This LED's a bit bright, so I've put a bit of tape on it. And I've set this up how I'd set up. It's the exact clone of how I would use my actual valve amp, which is a Victory V30. Everything's the same because I'm like, this is going to be my mobile rig. And I always have an emergency drive pedal in case I haven't put enough drive on. And this is a Klon, a really good sounding Klon. I know it's only a cheap Nuex one, like 40, 50 quid's worth, but we shot it out against a Tonal.
Yeah, it's really good.
Sounds fantastic. This sounds better than that. And I'm like, well, I don't need this on the board. I'm like, I'd rather reach down and give this a little tweak than use this. So I think you'd need, like, you could have that and a tuner.
Yeah.
There's 3 main sounds I like, which are, it does a really good clean. It does very good edge of breakup or quite driven. And this side, the gold side, is far more, I mean, it looks like a plexi, doesn't it? It's far more driven. And I tend to crank this, I mean, it's on full. So we'll give you a few settings. This is going through studio monitors, recorded through the room mics, which are expensive AKG mics, so you get an idea of how this sounds in the room. I think it sounds really nice. This is all analog, there's nothing digital in it apart from the reverb actually. And Lee Anderton was saying, I think it's because digital is, you've got a set like volume limit, like headroom, how much, it's noughts and zeros, whereas this, it doesn't work like that. It will clip naturally. It's more dynamic, like a real amp.
Yeah.
To get a nice driven sound, I go from, so clean is with this drive thing, straight up, I just go to 3/4 and then turn what would be the power section
so
down.
that's your second sound, right? There,
Yeah, so this will be my second sound. I'm going to go on neck pickup, but I'll do a little bit on the bridge as well, just a bit of... good.
Yeah, very
and I'll
nice.
just do the same thing on the bridge. So edge of breakup would be more just a bit past 12, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that's probably not for this particular thing, but that's probably my favourite type of sound.
Yeah,
because
you
can
like
play
that.
a bit lighter, you can go quite clean.
Yeah, you
and just dig
completely.
in a bit, gives it a little bit
You've
of
got
break
clean,
up.
and then when it digs in, and it's really like all I think when I adjust stuff when I'm playing, because I act like whenever we rehearse, I act like we're going to do a live performance.
Yeah.
So I know how I'd work it, and I just know this run. I'm like, well, that's how much drive there is. That's how much to compensate for it. And you shouldn't really need to adjust the master level, because if you're running into a desk or whatever you're running into, you don't want to overload that. So that should stay as pretty much a constant. So
these switches just for the which
Yeah.
type of amp you want to
these two,
emulate.
you just set it to Marshall. Although I think I've got Fender for the power amp on that side.
Oh, so you can switch them for each thing. So you can.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
and you'd think the best clean would be all Fender, because
Yeah.
Fender did great cleans, but Marshall preamp sounds the best. So,
Right.
so this is the more driven side. These are USA hot rod, so that's probably a Fender hot rod. And there's the MS 800. That's going to be a Marshall JCM 800. AC Brit, that's a Vox in it. Driven channel. This might feed back a bit actually, but we'll go for it. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Also,
really
it works well with, let's go on this side, if you've got it a bit driven. I was doing this a lot last night, which I do less on a real amp. So the whole thing of, right, oh, we're playing a driven song, so roll the volume down and clean it up.
Yeah.
I was like, saved reaching down
Yeah, it
for
works
it.
really
But
nice.
it works really well for that.
No, but it sounded really good, especially in the like the band environment that we, that was the first I'd heard of it.
Trying not to stare eternity, standing all alone, it's you and me.
And it just makes sense. If you've ever used a real amp, you're like, but there's no menus to go through. There's no
Yeah.
anything.
We don't like menus.
No, I don't mind a menu if it's easy to access things you need. But I don't know, with a digital rig, oh crap, I've got to adjust. Like if you need to adjust the pedal on a digital rig, I always think, how are you going to do that live? Whereas this, I know you have to reach down and adjust something, but it'd be the same as turning around to your amp.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that. It'd be like adjusting your pedal
Yeah,
board.
it looks like there's so much that it should do because of the amounts of knobs, but really it's like the name says, a simplifier.
Oh, completely.
It just makes it easy for you to adjust what you need based on what you would have done on an amp anyway.
Oh, completely. And there's sections, like the whole capstan section, you're probably not going to adjust that live. You're probably going to go, right, that's my sound for the gig.
Yeah.
Right, the whole power amp section, you're probably not going to adjust apart from how much, the volume of it effectively. The only thing you're going to touch during a gig is, so you'll set all of this and you're only going to need EQ, which, do you adjust during a gig? Probably
I think
not.
maybe at the start if you haven't got what you want, then
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly. You'd set and forget and get your pedals to do the rest. So you're going to adjust this one column here, which is how much drive there is, how much the preamp is, and that's the sound going to, if you're going through effects return to the desk or to whatever, and you probably won't adjust that because otherwise you're going to start, the sound guy's going to get annoyed because it's going to start overloading. You can adjust it if it's a problem.
I'd imagine that's why some people use pedals, right? Because they think using the stuff on the amp would be too much of a faff if you're playing, whereas like as you've simplifier, it's a couple of knobs that you need to do for a bit more gain, a bit more like.
Yeah,
And other
just
people
go.
just have I need
that's what you
4
need.
different gain pedals because I need that one and that one and that one. And you could
Well,
just
that's what I
tweak it
used
a
to
little
do. I used to have a super. We play super clean, a bit of drive, which would probably be something like a clon, something middle between that. I can't think of what I used to use, and then something heavy like the Red Rocks from whoever that Dormer Prince. I can't remember. I've had it ages. So I
was a
would
good
have
pedal.
3 drive pedals, and then I sort of got it down to 2 because I can get more sounds by rolling the volume or doing just adjusting stuff. I just want to have less stuff, a
Yeah.
small pedal board, If you had a clip-on tuner, you could could gig with that.
If you needed that boost, though, what would you do?
Panic. You could put a bit of gaffer tape over all of that and just have those 6 knobs on show.
Yeah.
Let's show this. The Klon would be my go-to little bit of drive, and then I heard this and I was like, okay, well that's better. So this is going to be clean, but with a Klon, so dirty. And if we sack that off, boost this, do that. This would be my. And I'm like, I know the Klon's got a different sound, you might want different sounds for different things, but I was like, well, I prefer that. I don't want stuff on my board I don't need.
I can't even tell you what the difference that I'm trying to convey is, but it was like almost like a more professional sound in that. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what.
Well, that's what. Joe, I used to have drive pedals, and then I got the Victory V30, and I got rid of all my drive pedals, which is a bit of a shame because we get sent drive pedals from people, and I'm like, I just use an amp because it does. Really good clean, really good a bit of drive, edge of break up all the way through to quite driven, and there's the other channel which does that. This is the Victory V30, which is my favourite amp ever.
That's really good.
Well, it is. You've got a good reverb, so you don't need a reverb. My amp doesn't even have reverb, so a good reverb is a lot of money. You've got proper clean, you've got really nice just overdrive sounds, and you've got proper distortion.
Yeah.
Effects return of an amp, Victory V30. Bit of drivey. Just a bit more driven, I'll do the same thing quickly. This is how it sounds through an FRFR cab. Completely different guitar. People are going to moan about that.
Really?
Oh, they love a moan, honestly. Brilliant. Channel 2.
So it sounds quite dark for an FRFR, is that what it is?
It does sound a bit darker, but this is a full humbucker. This is both on the Vox settings, power amp and preamp. Clean. Loads of low end. Fender. Marshall. just set it to Marshall.
Yeah, that was nicer.
That's why I just set it to Marshall. It's like, okay, I don't care what I'm trying to emulate. I just think what sounds the best. Go Marshall, set and forget.
Yeah,
Right.
don't think about it. Maybe don't think about it as what they're trying to emulate, and just play around with which sound you like best.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Because you'll get the bias in your head. Like, if you think, I prefer a Fender.
Fender should be the cleanest, and Marshall just sounds like it's got a nicer high end, in my opinion. And it's the high end that you have to pay attention to. The low end, realistically, if you play live, that's going to get in the way of everyone else, and it's going to be EQ'd out. It's going to sound terrible if you have that much low end. In a studio, they're going to get rid of it anyway. Yeah. In your bedroom, do what you want. You're in your bedroom. Right, channel 2, we're going to do the same thing. We'll go Vox, Fender, and then Marshall.
I'd say the first two didn't sound too dissimilar, and then the third one was like just nicer.
Yeah, Fender just sounded a little bit quieter, I thought. That's on full. Let's try it on half gain, which I think I've done. Don't have to run it on full, but why not? That's Marshall. We'll go backwards. Fender. Sounded less inspiring. And Voxy. Sorry. On that, so
yeah, that's nice.
That'd be a nice second guitar thing. Oh my god, there's me thinking using this in the studio. It's not even a real amp.
Yeah,
it's good though. It gets you different sounds for the studio. We're
recording
exactly in the studio, so let's put the reverb on full for a laugh. I haven't done this yet.
That's quite nice.
Yeah. I think that's a bargain. I'd prefer that to. I was going to say over the Pherotone, which I thought was amazing, which is a weird.
That's quite a big difference.
Yeah, it does so much. I'm going to say less, but everything it does is great. Yeah. Whereas the Pherotone does everything all right, enough probably to get past.
Everything other than the tuner.
The tuner, but this doesn't have a tuner, so you have to buy a tuner, which I would rather do. But you've got to buy a tuner for that anyway.
I'd be annoyed to buy a tuner when you've got a machine that has a tuner built in.
Yeah.
That should work.
Yeah, because it's unusable. I think it's absolutely fantastic. 500 quid.
Yeah, really good.
Here's a video on the Pherotone, it's absolutely fantastic. The tuner doesn't work. It does, but it tunes you out of tune. I've used this live.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's really good. Yeah, it's the only thing that's put the down on that is the
throw it to the Helix, which is about.
Yeah.
I think this is only 200 or 300 quid. Oh, I love this thing.